On tap for today's Philadelphia 76ers. Now, there's a lot of chatter in San Francisco that the Golden State Warriors could cut Kevon Looney because they're looking to save some money in Golden State. If that does happen, should Philadelphia pounce and sign him to be the backup behind Joel Embiid? Because as we know, the Sixers have struggled to fulfill the backup center position behind the process. Also coming up on the show, what Philadelphia can do with the 16th overall pick. Trade targets and a lot more. Stay tuned for that. First, producer Chip and I have been challenged by our bosses, the CEO and the COO. They said we couldn't get 200 comments on this video. Prove them wrong. Spam PHI for Philadelphia or whatever you want. Do that right now, and let's prove the bosses wrong. Just a little bit of fun to start the show, but let's officially get it underway, and let's talk Kevon Looney here. Thanks for hanging out here with us here on 76ers Now. I'm Chase Sr. You'll hear from producer Chip coming up here in just a little while. According to Tim Kawakami, a longtime Bay Area sports writer, the Warriors are expected to release Kevon Looney in a cost-cutting move at some point here in June. A little bit of a deadline coming up in a couple of weeks for the Warriors to make that decision. And as we know, the Sixers, as evidenced by the plus-minus numbers when Embiid is off the floor as compared to when he's on the floor, need backup center play. That's a lot better than what they've gotten. Paul Reed, you think about him as the backup center to Embiid. Not sure he's a positional fit because he might be more of a 4. He also, as far as his contract goes, has no guaranteed money left on his deal. You compare the two players from what they did last year, and as we know, Kevon Looney, clearly the more accomplished player, the older player, a veteran who's helped lift Golden State, the 3 titles as the ultimate glue guy, brings a lot more to the table as far as championship chops and experience in this league. He's not the athlete that Paul Reed is, but Kevon Looney in high school before getting hurt was kind of a wing who could do it all. He gets injured with the hip, has to go down low, and ended up turning into a really, really solid player. Last year, Looney, 74 games with the Warriors. Production probably the lowest it's been since the 2019-2020 season for him in Golden State. 16 minutes per game, 4.5 points, just under 6 rebounds, almost 60% from the floor, and then a half block per night. Paul Reed in 3 more minutes, 7.3 points per game, 6 rebounds, 54% from the floor, so not as efficient, but because he's a twitchier athlete, a block per game, might be better at climbing the ladder to alter shots at the rim. Looney probably costs less than Reed's $7.7 million salary, which is non-guaranteed, so that's a plus. Plus, he comes with championship pedigree and a lot of toughness. Kevon Looney's numbers never really jump off the screen at you, although I will say what he did in 2022-2023, 7 points, 9 rebounds, pretty damn good. And then the season before that, when the Warriors won the NBA championship, 6, 7, a half block, 57.1% from the field. Those numbers pretty solid, and in the playoffs, you can count on Kevon Looney to make the right play, make the smart play. And maybe the plus-minus isn't as great as far as negativity as it's been when Joel Embiid has to leave the floor, when he's either injured or when he does need some rest. The question becomes this. If the Sixers were to pursue Kevon Looney in free agency, if he gets cut by the Golden State Warriors, could it be an upgrade over Paul Reed? He might not be the twitchy athlete that Paul Reed is right now, but has championship pedigree. He's helped lift the Warriors to 3 titles during that tenure. And I think that the game moves a lot slower for Kevon Looney in some of these big moments in the playoffs, which is where the Sixers have been gashed. It seems as though anytime Joel Embiid needs a breather, anytime he misses time because of an injury, the backup center minutes behind Joel Embiid are disastrous. And the Sixers can never win or survive those moments in which they don't have Embiid. It speaks to his greatness, But as we've been talking about, the Sixers need to get better at backup center. I'm tired of seeing the corpse of Greg Monroe or DeAndre Jordan or Dwayne Dedmon. Kevon Looney, if he gets let go by the Warriors, a perfect fit to be the backup center for Joel Embiid this upcoming year to help the Sixers get that championship. With that, let's bring on producer Chip. Are you with me? Do you disagree in the sense that I think that Looney would be a viable backup?
Yeah, it's very interesting when you compare Paul Reed and Kevon Looney. I think Looney, on his own would be a tremendous backup center. Now, would he be better than Paul Reed? I think Paul Reed offers some different things, different skill sets than Kevon Looney. I think Paul Reed's a little bit better of an offensive player at this point. A little more athletic, can get his shots up a little bit better than Looney. But Looney offers more of what I think the Sixers need from a traditional backup center, which is going to be, a bigger body, can move people around down low. You don't need him to score the ball. What you need is someone who's going to be tough, going to be physical, and going to rebound the ball and play good defense. And that's what Kevon Looney's going to do. Now, Paul Reed, I don't like the idea of completely giving up on Paul Reed, right? I'm still a big Paul Reed fan. I think that he can be a lot better than what he's shown up to this point. He has a lot of untapped potential, I believe, especially, if he's able to slide over to the 4. I think there's a chance you keep both of them. But until Paul Reed shows he can develop any semblance of an outside jumper, it's really tough to be able to put him in at the 4 alongside someone like Embiid or someone like Looney. So, if the Sixers feel they need that little bit of extra money, they could move on from Paul Reed for free, for nothing, maybe include him in a trade at another point in time to, get a different asset on the team. If I had to pick one just for one season in a vacuum this upcoming year, I'd probably pick Looney, but again, it's tough for me to say I want to move on from Paul Reed because he is still so young. He's developing. He has that upside. I'd probably try to keep both, and then maybe you have a little bit of a competition for backup center, or you tell Reed, look, hey, you want to play this year, you want to get more minutes, you want to earn that contract, because his contract isn't actually guaranteed until January 10th of 2025. So the Sixers could cut him up until that date. He could play nearly half the season for Philly, and they could cut him, and he wouldn't be owed anything. So they could tell him, look, we'll give you until that date. If you can't prove to us that you're a developing perimeter player and you can develop a three-point shot, we're going to move on from you. If he does, great, you can play the 4, backup 4, that's tremendous. But in a vacuum, if I had to pick one, I think I'm going to go with Kevon Looney.
You said a couple of things there I think are interesting. Paul Reed's age, still only 24 years old. But when you're in this championship window, you feel pressure for players to take quicker strides in their development because you need them. Another thing that I'm thinking about now, and of course Paul Reed, he's gotten better every single year that he's been in the NBA, and you got him 58th overall in the 2020 draft. So he's been a success story for your organization. You could still sign Kevon Looney, and then Paul Reed can be that hybrid. You want him to play the 4? He could play the 4. You want him to play the 5? He can play the 5. You want to go double bigs depending on the matchup? You can do that as well. Who is your backup center? PR for Paul Reed, KL for Kevon Looney. Who do you think would be the better backup center for Philadelphia? Coming up next here on the show, we teased it off the top and we're about to get to it. What can Philadelphia do with pick number 16? But how about this deal from our friends at Fanatics? We talked about this on Monday's show. A lot of people here in the middle of June getting ready to go to the Jersey Shore, the Delaware beaches, Maryland beaches, looking to go on vacation, maybe internationally, where you can experience some bathwater type ocean water. You want to look good, feel good, rep your Sixers, and cool off a little bit? The Sixers tank top is awesome. I love the retro logo look there. 25% off, limited time only. If you use that link down below, chatsports.com/76ers tank. Limited time only. Use that link. Thanks to our friends at Fanatics. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. Part 2 of our show today. What can Philadelphia do with pick number 16 in the upcoming NBA draft, which is coming your way at the end of the month? Couple of different options here. Number one, you can use 16th overall to trade for established talent. And remember what Daryl Morey said about the draft back a few weeks ago. Immediate help probably never comes in the draft. There's really only something less than 10, but greater than 5 players picked in the range we're picking in that are good in the first year. That said, we don't really focus on the draft for help right now. I don't like when Daryl Morey says things like that because it's just too much math-based. This is a draft that is wide open. There is not a consensus number 1 player. And because teams are going to be taking chances on prospects, there are going to be misses. There is a realistic scenario here in which Philadelphia can get one of the best players in this draft at number 16. Stop looking at the math, Daryl Morey. It's gotten you nowhere. It hasn't won you a championship. Do your due diligence, scout these prospects, and see which player can help you right away. And if the board falls your way, you might be able to get a stud at 16. And screw your math right there. That is simple value. Back in 2022, the Sixers traded pick number 23 to Memphis for DeAnthony Melton. But look at what happened a few years before that. They got Tyrese Maxey in the 20s, Daryl Morey, and you were running the front office. And he did help you in year 1. Star trade targets. Let's take a look at that as I cool off. Jimmy Butler, Mikal Bridges, Lauri Markkanen, Brandon Ingram, Donovan Mitchell. These are star players that you're not going to get for just trading 16th overall. These are star players that you could package 16 with to maybe bring them in. And obviously, we know the chances are slim because the asking price is going to be really high. Other trade targets who might be more feasible and affordable. DeJounte Murray, not a superstar, but a very, very good player. Alex Caruso, we talked about him on Monday. Go check that show out. I thought it was terrific. Just a championship winning player. Dorian Finney-Smith can guard multiple positions and can stick the corner 3. He'd be a good fit on this team. Bogdan Bogdanovic can shoot about 40% from 3 on this team. He's done it before. And then Malcolm Brogdon, really good two-way guard. Of course, the injury is a concern there. So that's trading for established talent. At number 2, in option number 2, you select the player that you like. And you stop worrying about the nerdy Daryl Morey math, which sometimes you just have to make a gut decision. And we don't do enough of that in sports nowadays with these analytics that come into play. It's one of my issues with Major League Baseball, my first love, Major League Baseball. You don't just go with the reliever because that's what the analytics show. Craig Kimbrell. You go with the reliever based upon gut, based upon matchup. And in the NBA draft, you can do the same. Now, Morey after the year, if we do pick, I'm excited about who's there. That's what I'm talking about, Daryl Morey. Question is, who could be there? Some Sixers draft targets within range of that 16th overall pick. Jared McCain, guard out of Duke. Carlton Carrington, guard out of Pitt. Jacoby Walter, guard out of Baylor. Isaiah Collier, guard out of USC. And then Tristan Da Silva, the forward out of Colorado. We've talked about a lot of those players here on this show. The recent draft history at number 16, there are some solid players who you can get with the 16th overall pick. 2023, the Jazz picked up Keontae George. The Hawks before that, A.J. Griffin. Alperen Şengün has turned into a very, very good big. Isaiah Stewart is a foxhole guy who you don't want to meet in a back alley brawl. And then in 2019, Chuma Okeke. Of course, the Sixers took Maxey in the 20s, as I mentioned. 21 overall in 2020. Jaime Jaquez, Brandon Podziemski, 18 and 19 in 2023. Nowadays, with the growth of basketball in America, worldwide, internationally, etc., there is a lot of really good basketball talent. Nikola Jokic, Draymond Green, Jalen Brunson, all drafted in the second round. There are good players in every single draft. You just have to hit. Your scouting department has to be on it. Sixers scouting department was on it with Tyrese Maxey. They were on it with a guy like Isaiah Joe, who's now playing very well for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Don't just mail in 16 and throw some shit at the wall, expect it to stick. Understand that you can get a really good player. And then option number 3 at number 16, you trade down, you trade up, you trade out entirely if the board is falling in a way in which you believe, let's say, you can get a solid player in the 20s. Now, I don't see Daryl Morey trading up for a rookie. He could trade down, he could trade out and acquire more assets. I think trading out to acquire more assets might be in play here for Philadelphia. Recent draft day trade downs. We're bringing it all to you on today's show. Celtics in 2019, they traded number 20 for 24 and 33. The Jazz traded 23 for 27 and 38. Wizards traded 22. And then they got back 31 in Aaron Holiday. Aaron Holiday is a good rotation player in the league now. Knicks in 2021 traded 21 for 25 and a future second rounder. The T-Wolves, number 19 in the future 2 for 22 and 29. And then the Celtics last year, they traded 25. They got number 31 and 2 future second rounders. With that, we bring back the homie, producer Chip. What do you think Philadelphia should do with 16th overall?
So for me, I think my order of operations, if I'm Daryl Morey, would be this. First, if I can trade 16 in a package for one of Mikal Bridges, Lauri Markkanen, or Jimmy Butler, I would do that.
Okay.
Now, is that feasible? I don't know, because it's going to cost a lot, maybe more than what you have. If you can't get one of those 3 specifically, I would then, at that pick C, wait till you're on the board. Are there players that you still like that you think can contribute in year 1? Like a Tristan Da Silva, a Jared McCain, guys that have upside, but I also believe would be able to make an impact on this team. A Carlton Carrington, some of the guys you mentioned earlier, because as you mentioned, Chase, I think there's a lot of guys in this draft on the board that can be what Jaime Jaquez was last year, that can really impact winning as a rookie. If you get to your spot and you're not really liking the guys on the board and you don't feel like any of them can really help you, then at that point, I think I would consider, maybe trading the pick for a Bogdanovich, or I wouldn't mind trading down. I think at this point, the Sixers have accumulated a decent amount of picks from that James Harden trade where you don't necessarily need more future assets, but, maybe in your discussions with a team like the Miami Heat or with a team like the Utah Jazz, they say, we don't really like the assets you have. Maybe you say, all right, hold on. You trade down from 16, pick up a couple more picks, and then you could use those to trade for one of those stars. But I think number 1 priority for me would be to get one of those 3, and one of those 3 only, Jimmy Butler, Mikal Bridges, Lauri. If you can't get one of those 3 with a package involving that pick, I don't mind at all going for one of these prospects at 16, granted that you really feel like they can help you this season.
There you go. You heard from us. Next up, we're going to ask you what you think. What say you? What should the Sixers do with pick number 16? We've run through all of these scenarios, and there's a couple that the Sixers have at their disposal. What do you think they should do? Join the conversation down in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that sub button. We'll catch you tomorrow here on 76ers Now. Thanks for watching.